Good morning and welcome to Wake Up and Stay Woke. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, our program is in remembrance of the one and only Dick Gregory. The words wake up and stay woke are so appropriate for today with all that's going on in the world. We have a couple of special guests this morning, and I want you to meet the first one. She wrote and directed Sarah's Song, a play that will pay tribute to Sarah Bass Allen, who is the second wife of Richard Allen, the founder of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. She is from Philadelphia, and she's deeply appreciative and honored to have been the awardee this year. I'm sorry, in other words, recently, by Reverend Dr. Jessica Kendall Ingram to research and recreate a piece of our illustrious history of the African Methodist Episcopal. Good morning, Jann. Ellis Scruggs, are you there?
I am. Good morning, Dr. Williams.
Good morning. I am so excited to have you on this morning. You've got a bio that's probably it puts mine to shame. You've done a lot of great things, and I am so pleased that you could come on, particularly at this last minute. I thank you so much. Now, you've done some really important things, and I remember reading about you, and you had worked at Cheney State University, one of our famous historically black colleges and universities. And I wanted you to know that as president of the National Congress of Black Women, we once had our program there called College for Kids, where the kids lived on the campus of Cheney. So some wonderful things are going on up there, and we thank you and all people who graduated and worked at Cheney for allowing us to be there. Now, you graduated from Cheney, am I correct?
Yes, I did. I did my second master's, a Master of Science in Adult and Continuing Education at Cheney University, and I received my bachelor's degree after attending several other universities, and I was a non-traditional student, a much older woman married with children, and it was an honor and a privilege to have attended an HBCU.
Well, you know, I've had the good fortune of attending a couple of them, Grambling University as my undergraduate school and Howard University School of Law. So I'm with you.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Yes, so many things, so many wonderful things go on at historically black colleges and universities, and I understand that some of our young people go to other schools because they get scholarships there, or for some reason they want to go, but it generally has something to do with the finances. And so I applaud them, too, for at least going to a college, but I especially applaud those who attend historically black colleges and universities. They've come from such a long way, and some of them are doing such great things. I was reading this past week about Grambling University that has a nursing school there, and all of their young people pass their exams, which I'm told doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's some who go through the courses, they don't pass the exams, but for the second year in a row, the nursing students passed the exams. And so now we'll have more nurses in this country, and I'm sure there are other historically black schools that are doing some great things. Now, you received the Victor Borge Scholarship at the University of Connecticut while you were working on your, Master's of Fine Arts, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first I want to say that I find it so wonderful that I was able, as an older person, to finally finish my bachelor's degree at Cheney University, because when I graduated from Overbrook in '68, I was the first in the family to graduate, and no counselors ever told me about attending an HBCU. So I received several scholarships, and we chose, of all places, West Virginia University. And, of course, not being mindful of the political and social climate there, I had to, but I chose to be the Angela Davis on the campus, promoting social justice. And because I was in the theater program, which they only had a few young black sports players, football players and basketball players, and they offered me a scholarship. And because I was in theater, I was offered to do the role of Sarah Brown in Guys and Dolls. And because I had to play with a white counterpart, he was released from his fraternity because he would have to kiss and hold me on stage. I received threatening letters from people in high places, but after the first performances, they gave me roses, and I guess thought that perhaps would quell that frightening feeling they gave me. But I didn't take any chances. I came home. I thought it was best to come home and continue my studies at Temple and University of Penn. But after all of those trials and tribulations going into college, coming out, that's why I tell young students, never, 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 ever give up. Never give up your dream. Just keep at it, because something wonderful will happen eventually. You have to believe that. And when I walked into my first class at Cheney University, I just gasped with joy because this woman standing there looked like Mrs. Coretta Scott King. And we didn't have cell phones at that time. And I wanted to just get to a telephone and say, Mommy, I think Mrs. Coretta Scott King is teaching me. Well, it was her sister, Edith Scott Bagley, Professor Edith, who founded the theater arts program at Cheney University. And they look so much alike, but through her, I was introduced to the family. I have some wonderful stories with the King family, and it's just been a godsend. She's been my spiritual mother on earth when I lost my mother in '96, and I followed in her footsteps to teach there when Mrs. Bagley became ill, and I was there for almost 17 years holding up that theater arts program. And when you say you went to Howard, I didn't know about Howard. Not like, I know you may say, well, why not? Well, if no one has been to college in your family and the counselors, are not spreading the word, and I lived in the bottom. I didn't live at, the top of West Philly used to be kind of elite in the Overbrook section, and I just didn't have that knowledge. But I'm glad that I had a chance to, as an adult, to attend that HBCU, and then so blessed to have had the opportunity to nurture the students that came there, and they're doing wonderful things. I want to mention the students there. We have one budding star, or I guess not budding, he has arrived. His name is Chris Davis, and I hope you all will watch the George Foreman movie. He is the a lead in that movie, and when he came to me, I told him, you're going to be the next Denzel Washington. The industry will love you. He was so talented, but I'm so glad that we had something to do with his nurturing and progress.
Well,
and I'd like to mention a few others. Philadelphia Louis Duvall, he's a filmmaker now. Nadia Yates was a wonderful graduate. Atika Green is doing film and television in California. And Marcus Daughtry is here. We just have so many wonderful students that have graduated in that program. And when I went to Howard University...
I'll let you come back to some of those. It seems that we'll take the whole time talking about your students and not about you.
Thank you.
We do have something in common, because I was a theater major and did a lot of acting when I was in college. And you talked about not knowing a lot about Howard. Many of us didn't until it was about law school, which is where I attended Howard Law School. We knew about Thurgood Marshall. We knew about many of the great lawyers who had attended or who had worked on cases there. So let me just go to one of the questions I had, and it's, as a Philadelphia native, I see you went to Overbrook High School where Will Smith went. Is that correct?
Yes, that is true. As a matter of fact, we are separated by 6 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
When about 10 years into his career, I sent a package to his agent, and I had plastered all of Overbrook paraphernalia on it so he would recognize it. But I didn't hear anything. But the universe has a way of extending opportunities that you're not aware of. So 30, 40 years later, I had the opportunity to audition for a small role in his new television show, Bel Air. Mm-hmm. And in the first episode, I appear as Miss Charlotte. But during the audition process, there's a segment where you slate your name and where you're from. And I usually keep it straight. But this time I said I'm going to stretch out a little bit and let Mr. Smith know that I'm an alum of Overbrook High School music program, 1968. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it worked, Dr. Williams, because a few hours later, I received the booking.
Wonderful.
And on the set, I was able to work with that wonderful young director, and he taped this story and sent it to Mr. Smith.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. Well, for those of you who are just joining us, this is WPFW FM 89.3. And as you will keep listening, you'll know that we're talking about a wonderful person who has retired from Cheney State University. So listen up, and you'll hear the wonderful story she has. But having attended both an HBCU and a predominantly white institution, speak to us about those experiences. I know you told us a little bit about it, but family, legacy, and tradition, and tell us about some of your students who you had started telling us that, but give us some more of your students who might still keep in touch with you or who you are and what you're still doing. I know that's a long question, but you got it. You've told
yes,
us
no
much
problem.
Of it. Yes.
Yes, well, I did attend several non-HBCUs, Temple, University of Penn, School of Wharton for a moment, and the University of Connecticut, and I graduated with my Master's of Arts from Villanova University. And I can just say that no matter what school you attend, if you have a zest for learning and a passion to use that learning to serve the community, your family, to uplift, anyone in need, you will succeed. And I've had some wonderful experiences on both sides of that spectrum. And you gather life skills from both areas. And I just feel fully blessed to have come full circle, having had those wonderful opportunities. And I would like to mention that all this is not possible without wonderful parents. My mother was an opera singer, and she sang in the church and with her sisters, and she sent me to the Philadelphia Settlement Music School to study voice and piano. And from there, I was able to have a semester of scholarship at the Juilliard School of Music.
Wow.
My father was a jazz drummer, and he would take me. If some of you out there remember the postal card and the bijou, where the jazz on South Street thrived at that time, so I got to sit in those areas and listen to Gloria Lynn and Carmen McRae and Arthur Prysock. So,
yeah.
And
again, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Jann Ellis, and she's got just wonderful stories. I see you're a member of the Screen Actors and AFTRA. I was once a member of Screen Actors Guild, but as I tell people, I spent more on my membership than I made in the movies, so I don't have a distinguished career like yours, although I do write a lot, and hopefully that will get me somewhere so that people will remember some of the things that I've done in life, too. And, of course, you and I have in common that we were theater arts people. And I still am. Isn't it wonderful? I mean, when years later you can talk about some of the experiences you've had with people who were not so great then but are great now.
Absolutely. I tell you right now, I'm in the car, Dr. Williams, en route to a callback audition. I have reached the age now where the auditions are for Medicare and ARP and older folks. So I encourage the students to keep your toe. I always say I try to keep my toe in the business. And yes, we had to get a loan to become a member of Screen Actors Guild many years ago because it was expensive then, and it's still expensive today. And it's an industry that people have to have a really strong commitment and constitution to continue to do this because not everyone can, be so lucky to become a star. But if you continue to work at it, and that's all I've been able to accomplish so far, but everyone says, well, it's not over yet. Who knows?
Right, and, actors have had a very rough go at it these last, 3 months or so on the strike. I'm sure they're glad to be off, and many people are, because otherwise we can't get any new movies to watch.
That's true.
And many people think it's just all glamour to be in that
No,
business,
it's hard work. It really is.
Absolutely, yes. First of all, you got to study your lines. You got to stay up late. You got to learn them quickly. Sometimes, even as you're on the stage, you're given lines to say. Well, I serve as an executive producer these days, but I'm mainly doing writing and hoping to get others to do some of the parts. One of the main things I'm doing is a children's book. And
that's fantastic.
It's so much fun to be writing about the little ones, Well, let me ask you a few more questions before you get to that tunnel.
No, we're through the tunnel. We're through the tunnel. We are in New York. I'm looking for the audition space now.
Yeah, well, I got the message that you might be going through the tunnel and you might get cut off. But your talent is so many, but early on seemed to have served with music to include vocals and piano. How did you get interested in both singing and playing? Was that difficult to do?
No, it just flowed. My mother, of course, because she comes from a line of singers, so it was, and she heard my voice, singing. I sang Climb Every Mountain for my 6th grade graduation, and I had a wonderful teacher called Mr. Rogers. And he kept the tape, and I still have it of me singing at that time. So that was a natural progression for our family. But I attended a summer camp at Memorial Hall in Fairmount Park when I was around 12, and was asked to do a dramatic piece. And the teacher encouraged my mother that she should study theater as well. And I did enjoy becoming someone else on stage. So I just, it's an easy marriage, singing, theater. I wasn't great at dance, but I was one of the actors what we call can move well.
Well, I sang until I was in about 6th grade. I guess after that I gave it up. I started doing other things. But I see that your artistic career included stage, film, and television. Share with us some of your most memorable or interesting experiences with people that some listening might know.
Well, I've been so fortunate. I'm trying to think of one that I think the one that stands out the most to me is I did a movie called And Then Came Love with Vanessa Williams and Eartha Kitt. And my father used to talk about Eartha Kitt a lot. So when I was on the set with her, I was very intimidated because she's such an icon, but she made me feel so comfortable. And I was sniffling, and she said, "Somebody get Jann a tissue." And from that moment on, she told me her whole life story, how during the McCarthy era, being blacklisted, and it was just incredible life that she had. And I've had the opportunity to work as an extra in Beloved by the famous Toni Morrison. So I got to meet Oprah for a moment and Danny Glover. And I've just had, again, only small roles, but big enough for me to have some wonderful experiences with so many iconic people.
And they weren't so small to you. I mean, it made you who you are, I'm sure, and every one of those experiences made you do something or led you to do something important. I know we're just about running out of time, so let me get to a few more questions I have for you.
Oh, sure.
Again, for those of you who are just joining us, we're talking with Jann Ellis, and we're talking about some of her acting and teaching of acting experiences as she has taught at Cheney University in Philadelphia. Now, you have a rich history in the AME Church, and you're currently still an active member of the Mother Church, Mother Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, that was founded by Richard Allen. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we have a couple more questions.
All right, dear. My grandmother, who lived to be 95 on my mother's side, we attended Ruffin Nichols Church. And then my mother went over to Mother Bethel AME Church because my father, his mother belonged there. So we've had almost 100 years of membership at Mother Bethel now. 60 years for me, and 80 including the generation with my mother, and another 20 or so years with my grandparents. And I've served on the Historical Society and sang with the Cathedral Choir for many years. And then I am asked from time to time to write and direct historical plays on Richard Allen, Sarah Allen, and the Underground Railroad and things of that nature. And I encourage anyone, if you're looking for a Sunday beautiful service, to visit our church and our beautiful museum in the basement of the church and learn some history. And it's just you can feel the ancestors there giving you encouragement and spiritual strength. And very happy to be a member there. And our pastor, of course, now is the Dr. Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler.
And the African Methodist Episcopal Church has always been an activist organization. I remember when I ran for the United States Congress, they were one of the first to come to my assistance. And so I always appreciate. Yes, absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about your, as an advocate and an activist, which you started out saying a little bit about it. And perhaps it's one of your favorite ones. It's also one of my favorite subjects because I consider myself an activist. Some people say you're a soldier or warrior or whatever, but I consider activists to make a difference in the things that some people just complain about. But share with us some of your advocacy and activism stories, like teaching the Black drama courses and your relationship with Edith Bagley. You've mentioned her earlier. And tell us where we can find your work.
Well, I'm so thrilled to have had that relationship with Professor Edith Scott Bagley. She, of course, comes from the family in the midst of the beginning, the root of the civil rights movement. So I have so many, stories that she shared with me. And she had a section of the theater arts program designed for Black drama courses. And I think it's through the studying and directing and teaching of James Baldwin, Lorraine Hansberry, Douglas Turner Ward, and the rest of them that actually helped me see that you just don't have to complain about a situation, but you can also do something about it, change something about it. So when we read George C. Wolfe's Black comedy called The Hairpiece, and it's about two wigs. One is in the straight, Asian hair, and the other is in the afro. And they both have different social and political ideologies. And I thought that's so fascinating. And as I brought it to the students, as Black women, we were, at that moment again, we were struggling with, how do I wear my hair? Do we wear it natural? Is it accepted? Do we still wear weaves? Do we do this? And I always think, as a woman, you can change your hair. You can do anything you want. It's our prerogative to, be different. But I did challenge my female Black students to let their hair breathe. And we were able to convert a few students to see the beauty in their own natural hair. And it was just a wonderful, outcome that I had not expected.
Yeah, well, I've gone through those challenges, of course, earlier. Many of us wore an afro. That was so much fun. It just seemed, and
wasn't it wonderful?
Absolutely.
I loved it.
And since that time, I wore my hair relatively long, but I had a bicycle accident. A bicycle ran over me and cracked my shoulder, so I was unable to comb the long hair. So just in the last few months, over this summer, I've cut all my hair off, basically, and started over. And yesterday someone said, "Oh, I love your hair like that." I was a little self-conscious at first because it seems that it was so different from how many people knew me. But we know that, as you said, we women can make changes, and we can look good in almost anything, particularly our women.
Can.
When I say that, I mean Black women. We can fix our hair so many different ways. We haven't
so
had
many
time to
different
talk about
ways. In college, I had most times I had a Caucasian or non-Black roommate, and they were so fascinated with all the versatility of our hair and hairstyles. And when I was in London, I went to the Vidal Sassoon to have my hair cut. I was doing a gospel musical called Little Willie Jr.'s Resurrection in London, and he came to my chair. An Asian woman was cutting my hair, and he told me that he actually used Black women's hair. He loved the texture of our hair.
And you know what? We're going to have to put
any of those Vidal Sassoon commercials. He used our hair to design his product.
We're going to have to put a pin there, and we're going to have to invite you back on. You haven't told us half the story about some of the work that you did. But quickly, in 20 seconds, tell us if you knew Dick Gregory and you knew anything about him that he said or did. Well,
of course, he was one of my iconic figures who was able to, like Langston Hughes, to let the world know through comedy how serious our lives are and how they matter, and to bring out such rich history and provocative thinking and how to change and make a difference in the world. And one of my favorite quotes was, "I never learned hate at home or shame. I had to go to school for that.
And we're going to have to stop right there, but we're going to invite you back.
I cry right now, but that was my feeling.
Yes,
when I had to, I didn't feel that at home until I went to school.
Okay, and we are going to have to say goodbye to you for the moment, but we're going to invite you back to talk even more. Thank you so much. We've got to take a short break right now, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Williams. I really appreciate it.
Yes,
God
of course.
bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.